Good day outside, buddy. Okay. Ha-cha-cha-cha. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monday. It is last day of June. Stephen Miller and the Trump administration have managed to turbocharge the Office of Denaturalization. Basically, the idea is that they're going to take criminals and terrorists and strip them of the U.S. citizenship. But in the subtext, they're also considering political opposition as criminals and terrorists worthy of stripping of citizenship. So if you expressed like horror in the prosecution of the war in Gaza, you theoretically under this DOJ memo could be considered a terrorist or a criminal and thus be stripped of your citizenship and deported to a third country like President El Salvador. So that's where we are. We talked about this a year ago, that the entire plan was for these mass deportations to target every immigrant, not just undocumented immigrants, but immigrants who have documentation of all kinds, and to begin stripping citizens of their nationality. This is exactly what was done in 1930s Germany. This is why Stephen Miller is doing it. So if you think you're safe, you're not. No one is safe in a system like this. This is the entire point of this, is to make you unsafe. It's to destroy you and to seize control and total power without a majority and without the blessings of the citizenry. Because if they're against you, then you just strip them of their citizenship and you send them to a camp, and then you wash your hands of it because they can't vote for you anymore, right? Or vote against you. Their voice no longer matters, and if they disappear, then it's not your problem because they're not under your jurisdiction anymore. They're like in some third world prison somewhere, and you don't have to worry about that. That's a them problem at that point. So keep that in mind moving forward. All the folks who claim they didn't vote for this is exactly what you voted for. This is exactly what we talked about a year ago. And I remember very specifically certain individuals in the chat being like, no, that's not they're gonna do that. And so Crystal Ball, they told you exactly what they're gonna do, and they're doing it. And you being so naive as to think it's not going to happen to you, it is going to happen to you. Guaranteed. They don't give a shit about you. They'll use you until they don't have a use for you anymore. So, here we are, just waiting now on the Senate confirmation of the big, beautiful bill that will strip 17 plus million Americans of their Medicaid coverage, put another 4 million people into food insecurity, a bunch of kids will be starving, rural hospitals, 300 plus rural hospitals will disappear, and there you have it. All the while giving billionaires tax cuts. If you make $700,000 a year, you're going to pay $50,000 less in taxes. But if you make like $40,000 a year, you're going to pay more in taxes. The tax rate for people making like $18,000 a year is set to be higher than it is for millionaires and billionaires. So, just for all the talk about making America great again, we're not doing it. The proposed budget for NOAA for 2026 closes every single solitary laboratory, every research institution under the purview of NOAA, including the Miami Center, which is where hurricanes are studied and tracked. It includes the offices here in Seattle that track fisheries, so fishermen know where to go and how much to catch, right? They're vaporizing all of it. If you want to make America great, you actually have to do great things. And we are not doing great things. We're not building, the infrastructure of the future. We're not. We're maintaining an antiquated infrastructure from 70 years ago, but we're not building a new infrastructure. We're not putting ourselves into the 21st century as a leader in any way, shape, or form. No, we don't have the trains, we don't have the commuter rail, we don't even have the highway systems, we don't have the ports, we don't have the research and development, we don't have the laboratories, we don't have the leaders, and we're chasing all the brainiacs away. So we're going to have a really dumb, really inefficient, supposedly AI is going to do all the jobs for us or something, but then we're not going to be able to afford to buy anything, so there'll be no consumer market. And yet the market, it's like, oh, let's hit a record again. That sounds good. Oh, hit a record. Yeah, let's go for another record. This is silly. We're in silly times. And one of these plays, for fuck's sake, better play out, dude. Because, like, all of us, there's only like 104 of you in here right now. All 104 of us are trapped here. The fence being built along the southern border will not be to keep people out. It'll be to keep us in. And that's the reality we're looking at this point. So, man. Well, anyway, nothing interesting coming out of GameStop. Nothing interesting coming out of BBBY. Although I guess Express Q just pulled their shares exactly like Bed Bath & Beyond did. That's interesting. I don't know what's going on there. Express had some big gains in their stock, kind of in similar patterns as Bed Bath & Beyond right before they went under. So, yeah. All right, we got that out of the way. It's actually very warm in this room right now. What is it? 78 in this room, so it is toasty. Could be a lot hotter if I was still in that upstairs room from back in the day, but we'll be good. We'll be good. Turn off your intro, dingus. All right, Jay Bear first. Finally, nice. Kelly Reed second. Kelly Reed, happy birthday, HW. So, inequality skyrocketing, dollar depreciating in value, while billionaires like Jeff Bezos rents out Venice for 3 days. Yeah. I don't necessarily know the perfect way to get rid of inequality. I do think parts of it come down to how you regulate the free market. So let's say you own a stock, or you're a CEO, or you receive dividends, right? Let's say a company like Walmart, which pretty famously has, I think, more than 1 million of their employees qualify for government assistance, whether it be food stamps, Section 8 housing, Medicaid, etc., right? Direct welfare. And Walmart uses our tax dollars to subsidize what they should be paying their employees, so that they can then take the profit they make off of that and distribute it to their executives and their shareholders. So the shareholders, who usually don't have to work because they're living off dividends, they get that money. What if we were to make a law that says if any of your employees qualify for government assistance, your profit is subject to 100% taxes? Regardless of any other deals you have, if one of your full-time employees qualifies for Section 8 housing, for SNAP, for Medicaid, etc., all of your profit is forfeit. And we limit the executive compensation to like $60,000 a year, including salary, bonuses, and stock options. Poof, that's it. If you magically somehow figure out how to pay your employees a living wage, by all means, distribute your profits to your shareholders and to your executives. But if you can't do that, all your profit is forfeit. That might be one way to boost the middle class in this country. Let's think another way is, if a company goes private, if a company goes public, meaning you are Facebook and you found Facebook, you're Mark Zuckerberg, and you're getting all this investment and everything, and you want to go public. perhaps limit the ownership of public companies to 5% total. So if Mark Zuckerberg wants to go public with his company, he has to sell off 95% of the company. He's only allowed to own 5% of it. Something like that, so that they can't create these giant monopolies and then control so much. They can only control a little piece here and a little piece there. Kind of index fund style. At the same time, index funds shouldn't be allowed to invest in competing companies. Or we could just do the old-fashioned no billionaires. So you get to $999,999.99. You cannot earn 1 penny more. Instead, you get to keep that wealth, and you get a t-shirt that says, I won capitalism. And then that's that. Because there's no sense in having somebody with a $200 billion, $400 billion net worth that's larger than entire national economies when they aren't actually producing anything or providing anything or doing $200 billion worth of work. All they're doing is molding the world inefficiently into what they want it to be, which is against what the rest of the folks on Earth. 8 richest individuals on Earth have more wealth than over 4 billion people, over 50% of the population of planet Earth. 8 people. And those 8 people, on a whim, can do whatever they want. Whatever they want, regardless of your safety. I mean, just look at Memphis. Look at XAI's big facility in Memphis, where they can't get enough power to operate their gigantic energy-sucking machines to create cat photos and to answer all these "Crook, is it true?" questions from the dumbest motherfuckers on Earth. Instead, they put a whole bunch of natural gas turbines in there illegally without permits, and then they lied to the public, who are healthy people now getting COPD and other ailments from the toxins being produced by these unfiltered, unmitigated, and illegal turbines. They said, oh, no, they're not operational. They're there in case of emergencies. So the neighborhood floated some drones up there with infrared cameras and saw that all of them were operating and producing more toxicity than entire states and nations. But Elon's rich, so he can just do it and get away with it, right? This is what being an absolutely filthy, rich, soulless fucking douchebag gets you. Is you can violate the law, get people killed, and you just go, well, you're not going to do anything about it because I'm rich. I think we're getting to the point of inequality in the United States where the people are going to start to do something about it. And it may result in a rich person being eaten. People may just literally munch that sucker up. You saw how scared all of the executives of health insurance companies were last December when one of their own got puny popped in New York, right? All of a sudden, oh, don't deny any coverage of any kind, and all of a sudden people started getting, health care that they had not been receiving from their health insurance companies in quite a while. We may get to the point where there are so many folks with nothing left to lose that they take their remaining days and figure out how to make it worthwhile. It's getting pretty bleak, and the oligarchs are definitely taking all they can. They're going to take even more. I mean, Peter Thiel and Curtis Yarvin and those guys, they literally want to either have a monarchy run the United States, a king who decides through divine right how you live your life, or possibly in conjunction with districts controlled by corporations. Meaning, you live in the Seattle area like I do, you might be under the Microsoft or Amazon district, where there is a chairman of the board and CEO who then tells you how to run your life, and you then work for that company, and you can never leave your district without permission to do anything, and you are just a little worker bee running for that tech genius who controls your lives. These are the type of things that are from dystopian science fiction. I mean, it's literally isn't that the Hunger Games? Dividing everything into these districts and having, rich oligarchs decide how you live your lives, is because they don't like democracy. They don't like the fact that democracy allows other people to have the chance to like have a normal life. They need you for slave labor. They need you enslaved. Curtis Yarvin wants slaves. J.D. Vance loves Curtis Yarvin. J.D. Vance brought Curtis Yarvin to the White House. Is that what you want? Is that how you see it? Does that seem like a cool end to the American experiment? That we have, people being sent off to run black sites because they were born in the wrong country, or because they had the wrong views, or because they didn't agree to become, slaves in some sort of corporate fiefdom. It is really fucked up future that we're building really, really fast. It is snowballing out of control. And the members of the Senate and Congress are like, I don't want to get primaried, rubber stamp, because they're a bunch of spineless pussies. They're such pussies. Oh, I might get primaried. Oh no, and lose my very powerful position where I do nothing good. Sick. And this is the type of stuff where, people toss tea into the harbor in Boston Harbor. It is literally taxation of the representation. It is, putting future generations basically on a conveyor belt into a meat grinding machine, all because a couple of rich assholes think it'd be super neat. And those rich assholes, there's not very many of them. There's very few of them. So if the masses, if the yous and me's out there go, I've had enough of this, we could very easily just go wipe it and start over. So, take that into consideration. That's probably where the future is headed here. Either you're going to be a slave, or you're going to be part of the solution, I think, in this. We got Julius going some lurker fishing here. Do we get any lurkers? We got Turkish. We got Attaining Oneness. We got Red Bear Rob. We got Sosig. Ooh, that's somebody I've not seen before. And Daniel Batchelor. We got one. You got one lurker out of that one. Thank you, Julius. All right. And 969th. DJ Doink. Brooks was here. And 9 Ugh. Where do you even start? Yeah. A Bill Coyne Wall Street Journal article, Europe is actively recruiting educated people from the U.S., scientists, etc., but the pay is low, relocation assistance available. The pay is lower in Europe, but you get healthcare, you get ample, walkable towns and cities, public transportation, pensions, lower cost of living. So there are things we also get to ignore all the debt you have in America. So I think if you're going to take one of these jobs overseas, just rack up credit cards and be like, peace, never come back. Because why not? Live it up. So, Stephanie L. Super chats. Why do you think some moderate Republicans are more afraid of Trump more than they are of the midterms? Don't you think if they vote for this grift of a bill, they would be voted out next year? Curious about your thoughts on P? Thoughts on it? Yeah. So there's the way Republicans have developed their base is they have MAGA, which is 50 to 80% of the people who vote Republican in primaries. And then if you have this 50% group, which might not be MAGA. They may vote other ways. They may be like, I think we need to get rid of Trump, right? But they don't control the output when it comes to primaries. So if you go against Trump and Trump takes a MAGA candidate and puts him up against you and primaries you, you're going to lose, because the little MAGA robots will go, I gotta vote for the other guy because you're now an enemy, and they will replace you with someone loyal to Trump. That's basically it. they may not win the general election because there may be a whole bunch of people like, oh, I don't want you. But you're definitely losing your seat, which means you're losing your cushy spot and your, fancy lobby dinners and, your apartment in Washington, D.C. and all that stuff. You have to go back to like Podunk, Iowa and deal with like the actual people and live there. Ugh, right? So that's basically it. Every Republican who voted for impeachment is no longer in the House. They all got primaried or out. So if you go against Trump, they will primary you and you will lose your job. That's it. What they need are people who don't care about that job or having that job. Because if you're not doing any good with it anyway, then what's the point of having it? So they need to have a whole bunch of folks, a majority of folks in Congress go, yeah, fuck this. I'm not doing it. I'm not playing this game anymore. And if you get an overwhelming number like that, I don't think Trump could put up enough candidates to primary everybody because it would be a whoop and yell in a howl. The same way you aren't going to get an impeachment of Trump, and any Republicans, again, who vote to impeach or vote to convict, they're gone, right? Your best hope is probably a 25th Amendment of Trump, which would be J.D. Vance and the Curtis Yarvin group going to try and make their monarchy, which would allow the Republicans to go boo hiss to J.D. Vance because J.D. Vance doesn't have the Riz or the MAGA following. He'd piss off all the MAGA, basically. He'd turn the MAGA into enemies, be like, how dare you go against our fearless leader, right? And J.D. would lose the base, piss off Congress and allow them to start, acting like another branch of government. And J.D. doesn't have the Riz to swoon America to follow behind him because they all kind of he gives everybody the creeps. He's one of the lowest approval ratings of any vice president in history. You basically got Dick Cheney, fucking Emperor Palpatine, and you have J.D. Vance. Those are the two lowest rated vice presidents in U.S. history, including ones that got impeached for like crimes. JD is not well loved. He's a doofus. He's a poser. He's like Farva from Super Troopers. He's that guy who always wants to be part of the crowd, and he shows up, and everyone's like, "Oh, hey, that guy's here." Right? That's JD. How he made it this far is namely because Peter Thiel paid for it. He's a Peter Thiel acolyte. Peter Thiel paid for every step along the way, paid for his elections, paid for everything. His job is to go there and do Peter Thiel's bidding. And he worked for Peter Thiel. He worked in his VC firm. So yeah, I think if the Peter Thiel crowd gets what they want, it's over. They will then lose the public, like rah. So they're now up against like trying to keep the White House, but also trying to push through their agenda under Trump, and then they'll get rid of Trump once they get everything they want. But then they'll face like Congress and the courts actually acting like the second and third branches of government. So it's kind of a shit show. So yeah, we're just stuck with that. Although I do think if the Democrats can stop stepping on their own dick, they can actually run a populist candidate for president and win. But it will require extracting the billionaire corporatists from the Democratic Party. Basically tell them to go fuck themselves. And be like, we don't care, we'll take small donors and we'll do it that way. It'll piss off those like corporatists, middle of the road, neocon Democrats, but they should be eaten like all the other rich. Just be done with them. Because they're trying to preserve their ability to sit on top and dictate how we live our lives while being like, well, it's okay for someone to be gay, but you all will be poor. That's basically what they're going for. So we need a populist who will jump in there and will say, you know what, forget Medicare for all. We're going to do Medicaid for all. You will all have health care with zero co-pays and zero premiums. Get in there. We're just going to take it out of your taxes. If you're old, you're going to have a nursing home you can go to. If you are mentally insane, you're going to have a mental hospital you can go to. If you are on drugs or alcohol, you're going to have a rehab you can go to. We're going to provide the ability for Americans to have roofs over their head and services provided for them. and it's going to be cheaper and better for everyone in the long run. The corporatists, who wanted Cuomo in New York really don't like Mamdani. Zoran Mamdani to be mayor. And the problem is that his policies people love, right? We have food deserts in many cities and rural areas across this country where grocery stores refuse to open for whatever reasons. They won't go in there and open a store. And so folks don't have fresh meals they can get. They don't have fresh vegetables or fruit or butchered meats. They have to go to a McDonald's or a fast food joint or a 7-Eleven to get the food because there's nothing near them, right? And so Mamdani's like, well, we'll open, city-owned grocery stores in these neighborhoods. If Safeway and Vons and Kroger and they're not going to open stores there, we will, which has worked. They've done it in Chicago. It's worked really well. Lots of rural towns across the United States have city-owned grocery stores because the big guys won't come in there. And guess what? The food's cheaper. It's more plentiful. And the grocery stores aren't having to worry about taxes and other overhead costs because it's a city-owned one. So they can charge it cheaper. They can actually undercut the big stores anyway. And they did an experiment on five bus routes in New York where they took fares off. And what they found was poor people rode the bus a lot more than they usually did. And it saved them time and allowed them to enjoy their lives more. Because before, you're making $28,000 a year and the bus is $250 each way every day. That's $5 a day. That adds up, right? That's going to be $1,200 to $1,500 a year just riding the bus. And so they would walk. It would take them hours and hours and hours because some of these people lived miles away from where they work. So they would get up really early, start walking, walk 2 hours, get to work, be fucking exhausted, work all day, and then they had a 2-hour walk ahead of them to get home. And now they can hop on the bus for free and get to work, and they're saving themselves 2 to 4 hours a day, right? That allows them to do other things, see their families, take care of their kids, saving money, saving an extra $1,200, $1,500 a year, which goes a long way for these families. And yeah, so it's going to cost New York, what, $900 million a year to make these buses free? Okay, they have a $116 billion budget, right? They're spending $1.1 billion just to buy new turnstiles in all the subways to make it harder for people to jump the turnstiles. They're spending $1.1 billion on that. They lose like $60 million a year in turnstile jumpers. So it's a complete misplaced money anyway. So who gives a shit if free buses are going to cost $900 million? You're already spending useless money on a whole bunch of crap that don't matter anyway. So if Democrats can get out of their own way and actually get a populist in there to run for president and to run for office at local and national levels who can present these populist ideas to make people go, oh, well, shit, that improves my life so much. Wow, I never thought of it that way. They will win. But they keep destroying that candidate, keeping them from winning at the primary level by, running a whole bunch of also-rans against them and having one corporatist who will get the majority. So that they split the vote, and then once it's guaranteed that corporatist is going to win, then everyone else drops out. Right? That's what they did to Bernie. I liked Elizabeth Warren as a candidate, but the fact that she stayed in just to suck votes from Bernie so that Biden could become the nominee was a dick move, and she should be shaking like a baby for that. But seeing how they treated David Hogue, kicking him out of the leadership of the party, for doing basically what Donald Trump is doing to Republicans, which is, if you aren't going to be a Democrat, we're going to primary you. It was basically what he was saying. Like, we're going to get rid of your old ass. We're going to get rid of you fucking moderate losers who vote for Trump constantly, vote for his policies. We're going to primary you and get you out of here, and we're going to get good people in your seats. And the Democratic Party went, no, you can't do that, right? And meanwhile, Trump is literally tweeting out, if you don't vote my way, I'm going to primary you and you're gone, right? To get them in line, to do his bidding. So why can't we do the same thing but for good? Yeah, right? Get us healthcare. Get us food. time off, get us vacation, get us something that makes our lives better. It's frustrating, it's infuriating, and here we are. The Democrats are spending more time trying to beat down Mamdani, who's going to do some good for New York, than they ever did against Trump. That shows you where the priorities are of the party. And yet we're stuck in the stupid two-party system. So, rah! Right dog on the floor. Rah! Okay. I'm not making it very far through these through these questions in the chat today. Gotta read. Reverse repo got a big jump today. Anyone see the crazy $11 billion borrowed from lenders of last resort? Someone needs to shore up for reporting requirements. I saw another article today. I didn't get the chance to finish it up before the show, but it was all about how a lot of the liabilities are going from regulated banking institutions, through things like home loans, car loans, consumer credit, personal loans, etc., and they're being pushed into these shadow banks with unregulated payday loans, pay as you go, buy now, pay later, Klarna type things, and that a huge portion of the liabilities in this economy are going to companies that do not have any regulations as to how much capital they need on hand to handle if these liabilities get realized. At the same time, we've got banks still at record levels of unrealized losses because of Chinese bonds that aren't getting paid, right? Commercial real estate loans that aren't getting paid, etc. And they're just trying to kick the can down the road. These banks are not going to see a dime of that money. That money's gone. But at least there's a system in place for the Treasury and FDIC and etc. to absorb these losses. There's nothing in place for Klarna. If people aren't paying their 4 monthly payments for that burrito they got from Chipotle, nothing Klarna can do about it, right? So it'd be interesting to see what comes of all that. Yeah. They need to shore up reporting requirements. They need to shore up a lot. And Kelly Reed also asked, what does your crystal ball say in the coming years? MOAS, attendees in there? Well, at this point, I think MOAS is only possible if Ryan Cohen lets it happen. The problem being, Ryan Cohen is billionaire buddies with all the fucking assholes, right? Ryan Cohen's like, oh, I hate the shorts, but you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to pay a bunch of money to get Donald Trump elected just like Ken Griffin. So, for all the talk about how both parties are the same, nothing really different, blah, 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 well, billionaires are pretty much all the same. There's nothing different between them. Billionaires will support billionaires before they ever support you, right? So, if Ryan actually does something amazing with Bed Bath & Beyond, it can happen. If instead he keeps diluting every time we get some good news about earnings and our share values stay exactly the same while more shares keep getting generated for the future, then no. MOAS is going to happen. Those shorts are going to keep winning. So, if you want to blow up the system, don't give us lip service about wanting to blow up the system and then not blow up the system. Because when the masses are hungry, they're going to eat you too. They'll see you as a guy that strung them along and not as a guy who reached down a hand to help people up. And that's the biggest problem, I think, with most of the billionaire class, is that they definitely pull that ladder up behind them so that no one else gets that chance. And it's crazy because there's a pretty good video that I retweeted earlier from some dude that was on MSNBC talking about, he's a billionaire himself, and he's talking about us leaving the middle class in the dust. And he talked about the diminishing returns of happiness, right? So let's say you're making $30,000 a year, and all of a sudden you're making $50,000 a year. You have like a 67% increase in your income. This allows you to do things you may have never been able to do before, but you always dreamed about. Like take a day off, or go on a vacation somewhere, or get your car fixed, or pay off a loan, or get your teeth fixed, whatever. Like your level of happiness increases so dramatically, going from $30,000 a year to $50,000 a year all of a sudden, right? And there's and he talks about how there's a limit for rich people. If you make $10 million a year versus $50 million a year, your quality of life doesn't really actually change. You go from rich to rich. You go from, more money than I can spend to even more money than I can spend. And yeah, they go out and they might buy another Bugatti Veyron or Chiron or what, but that Bugatti, yeah, it's a cool car. Okay. Now what? Well, you can't drive it, because if you drive it, it loses value. So you're going to sit there and you're going to wipe it with a diaper and you're going to talk to your friends about how cool that is. And then, no, don't touch it. Get the fuck out of the way from there. Right? Versus being that person who had some rusty beater to finally getting a decent used car they have to worry about the reliability on. Like, the happiness of that dude has increased so much more than the happiness of the guy who now has a $5 million sports car he won't let anybody touch. It is truly like a diminishing return, and yet these rich folks will try to gather more and more and more and more and more, just trying to claim that piece of happiness they had, probably from when they went from 30,000 to 50,000 a long time ago. And like, if you get to the point where you're so rich and you've taken so much from so many other people that you've got to spend all your time and energy and effort worrying about your own personal safety, and worrying about like security teams and your schedule, and being secluded and secretive and cut off from everybody, and you can't just walk down the street and be a human, then what's the point, right? Like, whatever you have to say about Bill and Melinda Gates and how they got divorced and all this stuff, one of the amazing things in that divorce, I think, that happened, because before she filed, one thing Melinda did is she went and secretly bought a townhome in the Capitol Hill neighborhood of Seattle for like $1 million, like 1,200 square feet. It's $1 million. It's a nice townhome. It's a little townhome right there in walking distance of a whole bunch of places. Then she filed for divorce and moved to that home. And she just walks and goes and gets coffee. She goes and has dinner with her friends. She walks to the library. She walks to the park. That's how she spends her life now. She's gone from this like giant mega mansion where you have to put like a band on your arm so the lights turn on when you walk into rooms, and smart televisions operate and robots come and serve you drinks, to like a 1,200 square foot house, and she can just like walk and get a cup of coffee. Not have to worry about security teams and all that stuff, right? There's the billions of dollars didn't make her happy. She just wanted a cute little house she could sit and read in, and to be able to walk and get a cup of coffee. That's what she wanted out of life, and she was stuck in this like gigantic fortress surrounded by security teams and robots and helicopters and all these things. And I truly think that most people, I'm not talking people with like broken brains and personality disorders and narcissism and all that stuff. Most people, when they get a glimpse of that lifestyle, they go, "Oh, fuck yeah!" Right? Like being able to get to the point where you don't have nagging worries, where you're like, "Oh shit, my dog has cancer. Am I gonna be able to do anything about that? And my kid lost a tooth and the teeth are growing funny, but I can't afford the orthodontist. Oh shit, the car is leaking oil, but I keep putting oil in it, but I can't afford to spend a couple $100 to fix the oil pan or whatever." And that's all we ever need in this country. You feel like you're contributing to society. Check. There's level of happiness. You can complete some projects, level of happiness. You can get some time off and you can relax, level of happiness. You don't need this nose to the grindstone sociopathic desire to go be closing, to rise and grind. That makes a couple of fucking weirdos happy who are on like way too many testosterone patches and HGH and whatever else, and feel as though they can compensate for their like weird repressed sexuality by doing that. Everyone else, they're totally okay. Contributing to society, building America, defending the country, representing the ideals, if they have themselves an actual slice in it, an investment in it. And we're not allowing folks to have that investment in America because too many people are spending all their time surviving. And surviving does not lead to happiness. It leads to elevated heart rates, early death, all sorts of other terrible outcomes for their loved ones and children and everything else. America was best when we were growing the middle class. That's when we can kick the most ass. And the more people we brought into that, the better we did. And the more people we kept out of the opportunity, the worse we become. And we're just no, we're regressing, and it's like whenever someone says "Make America Great Again," it is this Orwellian doublespeak. We're doing the exact opposite. There is nothing great about removing people from this system. Like, no, you can't be a part of this. Fuck off, right? A capitalist system requires steady and unending growth. That's what it requires. So if you want to be a capitalist, you need competition and you need growth, which means more people in the system at all times, more customers, more, right? And if you remove between 5 to 15% of the population, that's contraction. That's not good. That is losing customers. Just ask Target. Target lost 15% of their customers back in January, and they have not gotten them back. And now they're struggling. Oops. Right? Oh, where'd our growth go? Gone. They're never coming back. You broke the trust barrier. They're gone forever. Trust thermocline, I guess it is. So, if you're going to get rid of everyone who picks the food, everyone who grows the food, everyone who cooks the food, everyone who serves the food, everyone who builds the houses, everyone who takes care of the kids, everyone who takes care of the landscape, if you get rid of all those folks, right? There's no one to replace them. Elon will tell you, like, oh, the Optimus bot will come in there. It's not. What's going to happen with the Optimus bot is the Optimus bot will be told to go out there with shears, right? And they'll go and like clip some bushes. And then some kids are going to come along and they're going to kick it into a ditch and spray it with a swastika and then bash it in with a hammer and stab it with the shears. That's what's going to happen to the Optimus bot. And so there's going to be just dead little Optimus bots covered in swastikas all over the country. And then people are going to be like, well, the insurance won't cover my swastika bot because too many of them are being stabbed with shears and covered in swastikas. So there you have it. And people get fulfillment from doing stuff. They do. Like even in my dreams of like a retirement, it's not so much a retirement from like contributing to society and more retirement into contributing how I want to contribute. Right? That makes sense? And it could be volunteering my time at the historical museum. It could be taking people on tours of the outdoors. It could be tinkering around the garage and inventing shit, right? Like, I have no problem contributing to society. I just have a problem contributing to society in a way the billionaires want me to because it serves them. I want to serve me and you. That's how I want to do it. So, meh. Todd Ahart, our heart. Congo peace. Congo peace? Congo. 2 words. Congo peace. Congo peace. Rwanda Congo signed peace deal in U.S. to end fighting, attract investment. Awesome. 3 days ago. Okay. I'd be interested about that because isn't it mostly like it's not the countries fighting each other, but mostly warlords fighting each other over like coltan and tin. So is this Congo and Rwanda agreeing to like go after those warlords together? Deadly fighting in the eastern Congo while helping U.S. government and American companies gain access to critical minerals in the region. Today, the violence, destruction came to an end. Our region begins a new chapter, hope, opportunity, peace. President Donald Trump told the foreign ministers of the two countries at the White House meeting. So Donald Trump's going to take credit for this. Let's see here. 100 armed groups, mostly potent, backed by Rwanda, have killed millions since the 1990s. A deal seen as a turning point. Analysts don't believe it will quickly end the fighting because most prominent armed groups says it does not apply to them. That's exactly my point. It's that's what I was thinking, is that it's all warlords who are doing the fighting anyway. It's not like Congo and Rwanda were actually at war with each other. There's a really great movie. Actually, there's not movies. There's actually two. I think they're both Netflix series. One might be Prime. But there's one called Black Earth Rising, and it has Michaela Cohen in it. And I'll be honest, it might be the single greatest acting performance I've ever seen in my entire life. Just 8 episodes. She plays a young woman who works as a paralegal for her mother, who's like international criminal court lawyer, and she is an adoptee from the Congo, from Rwanda, from when the Houthis and Tutsis had their civil war, and her mother gets killed while like prosecuting crimes against one of the warlords down there, and she's got to go investigate. Right? It's got John Goodman in it. It's fantastic, but it shows you that it's not just the governments. It is these paramilitary groups that actually control each little kingdom along, kind of like what Curtis Yarvin wants to the United States, is having little fiefdoms in all these areas. So yeah, what you need to actually have probably UN peacekeepers come in. They are down there, but they're not a reactionary force. They are like, I stand here and hope that this area nothing bad happens. But we need to go in and like pick off the individual warlords who actually run the slave camps, who actually do the black market smuggling, who do all these things, and take money from the public, which would be the natural resources owned by the Congo and Rwanda. So, yeah, it seems like a performative handshaking. It's like it'd be like you got two kids in the neighborhood who fucking hate each other, right? And they're just beating the shit out of each other. And as like PTA president or whatever, HOA president, you get the two dads to come shake hands and agree not to kick each other's ass while the kids are just like bashing each other's heads in with bats and toy cars and stuff in the background. That's kind of what this peace deal means. So, yeah, it doesn't. I don't think it really means shit unless you actually get the warlords in on it. So there you go. All right. Attaining oneness. Whoops, I didn't want to do that. Attaining oneness. Super chats. Feels great being a Zoran stan. Every time legacy media thinks they got him with their question, dude turns it on them and does such an effing class. Even got 18 to 24-year-olds to vote. Insane. Yeah, something like 40% of the voters that showed up for the primaries were voters under 40 who had never voted in a previous election. And that's for the primaries. That's what running a populist candidate gets you. It gets people excited. They go, holy shit, they're actually wanting to do things I want to have happen? No way. Like, it's not a very hard lesson to figure out, Democrats. Like, the lesson should be, oh, wow, people are excited for this guy, and he wants to do the policies we actually pretend like we want to do, and he's actually talking about doing it and setting up a way for us to do it. Whoa. Right? Like, I'm really hoping that the pendulum swings in such a way that we get ourselves an AOC presidency this next time around. Something like that. That somebody who's not motivated by wealth and culture and status, but instead is motivated by like seeing their fellow people get lifted up, that'd be great. That would be great. Stephanie L. Super Chat, did you listen to Jake 2B's latest presentation? Yes, it was very long. Basically, he took a deep dive into the original plan. And the original plan, like, on the outside, you read all these long statements about how they've got to, sell off assets, liquidate, claw back things, do all that stuff, get money for the various classes, whatnot. But then there'll be like a sentence talking about was like 1145 rule, which is from reemergence, or one sentence about a 381 code, or these things, they don't go into explanation because that's not like the plan is all about trying to claw back as much money as they can for the estate to give to the creditors. That's the plan. The business itself has already emerged, is no longer in liquidation, has already emerged, and now we're just waiting for those little rules, 1145, 381, etc., 363 share things, and we're waiting for the point where those things, they just go hit the button and trigger it. And that's when money flows out to the creditors, remaining cash and possible equity for the reemergence then goes to class 9. So we're just waiting on that. It's a long fucking wait, dude. I'd really like to have the financial privilege that in case denaturalization, criminalization of normal Americans from opposition views, all that stuff starts at the fan, I can just, because that's kind of where, that's the privilege we're going to need. Attaining oneness, all super chats, but I think those poor Chad Chaddingtons, the thirds, they might all leave New York City because of the free buses. Oh yeah. I will leave New York City for my house in Greenwich, Connecticut. That's... They always talk about like, oh, you know what? It's going to be the end of the city. It's over. You can't raise minimum wage $15 an hour. It's over. All businesses are going to close. Oh, you're the fastest growing city in America and people have the highest incomes in the entire country. Oh, well, they're still going to leave eventually. You just wait. That's usually how it goes. There's a town in, I think it was Iowa. It's from a Yes Magazine article from years ago. There's actually a magazine based here, Banbridge, talking about how this little town in Iowa, it was dead. Walmart came in, absolutely undercut every business in town and destroyed the town. So there were no more little shops, shoe stores, clothing stores, hardware stores. Like they all just gone. Everyone went to Walmart and they killed the town. And so the businesses were gone, which means rents were getting paid, which means taxes weren't getting paid, which meant mortgages weren't getting paid. So all these buildings started going up for auction and no one was buying them. And the town got together with an idea like, hey, let's buy all the business. Let's buy the entire town. So the town bought the town. The city government bought all the shops in town, everything downtown. And what they did was they offered loans, small business loans, things like that, and cheap ass like $1 a month rents. You put a business in there, we'll give you a chance, $1 a month. Let's see how it goes. So all of a sudden, little ice cream shops and little independent bookstores and high-end boutiques selling things that you can't get at a Walmart, right? Shops that were not necessarily the shops you saw in the town before, in this blue-collar town, but actually a little more upscale, things you can't get at Walmart. You can't get fancy homemade ice cream at a Walmart. You can get maybe some soft serve at the little crappy McDonald's they have in there if that works. But if you want your mint chocolate chip or your brownie crunch or whatever, you're going to go to a little shop. And because rent wasn't a concern, right? The employees there got paid more, which meant they had more money to spend, which brought more people into that downtown, which meant they'd be like, oh, that purse in the window is really nice. Maybe I'll buy that. Oh, look at these toys, these custom toys that you can't get at Walmart. Like, the town had this massive rebirth as a result of, hate to say it, socialism in this very Republican town. So, yeah, there are certain things you can do that can make business really, 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 really appealing. They did it. A rich guy, John Jacoby, the owner of Windermere Real Estate, billionaire, when he took over the development in the south end of the island here during the economic downturn, he opened up all those businesses storefronts for $1 a year rents because he'd rather have people in it using the business, showing that it was a good location for the economic geography wise for folks to come visit and use these businesses than it was for him to try and charge market rate and then have empty storefronts and then have nobody coming down to utilize the development he just spent hundreds of millions of dollars building. And now, what are we, 15 years later? He can charge whatever he wants for these rents because he proved that this location was ideal for people to come visit and go to the frozen yogurt store, go to the coffee shop, go to the hamburger place, check out the kittens at the Paws Adoption Center that's in there. It's a no-brainer, and I think the Chad Chaddingtons. Oh no, less douchebags in New York. Oh no, oh, the Silky Boners are all gone, and there's a whole bunch of waitresses that aren't going to get sexually assaulted. So, yeah. Shelley Schlieff's Why Isn't the Better Business Bureau released the devastating study on the big bounteous bill? Do they not care about business consumers, or do they hate starting fights if they could lose? Better Business Bureau is wholly owned by MAGA. They are under MAGA's thumb, so they're not going to question anything there. There's no one with enough like chutzpah at the Better Business Bureau to actually release what those results will be. So no, that's why. The leg guy. He's a guy. He's got legs. Houston, what is the purpose of board members in a company? How much power they have in comparison to the CEO as well? BBY related. The board members can set the direction, and then the CEO's job is to implement that direction, essentially. There are companies where the CEO controls the board and is like chairman, so wherever the direction is, he decides is where it goes. But in usually long-standing public companies, everyone has such small amounts that the board kind of dictates as to where the CEO is going to go in their execution of these things. In the case of BBBY, that board basically told the CEOs to violate their fiduciary duty and to do what JP Morgan told them to do, who was not a member of the board and should not have had control over those decisions. So, yeah. The board has a fiduciary duty to shareholders. The CEO and those folks have fiduciary duty to shareholders. And in this case, they did not listen to shareholders. They listened, or actually they didn't even give us an opportunity to be heard. Because remember, Ryan Cohen offered $400 million to buy the company and take on all the liabilities, right? And the board is required by law to present that to the shareholders. Be like, hey, we have a cash offer for this, yay or nay. And they didn't. Instead, JP Morgan was like, reject it and crush them. And so they did, without ever telling us. So we had to find out in discovery in a court case that this was what was happening, which is why the board had to settle in that lawsuit that was brought against them. And my guess is JP Morgan's probably paying billions to keep a RICO charge from getting hit with them by doing this settlement. So yeah, monkey butt. We made it through 10 questions today. I had too much ranting going on. So I guess I'll see you guys tomorrow. Oh, little update. I heard from YouTube, the engineers really did not give a good explanation. Like, well, it's just the rules, 50 charity shows, and that's all. We can't, the system can't handle more than that. Fuck you, the system can handle as many as you want. You just go unlimited. Apparently, I do have to delete previous charity shows from the channel. So if you love the charity shows, and you feel like you have a need to go rewatch some of them, you can go back in time and you can watch those, and I will be deleting a new one every month so we can do a charity show. So I am going to do a charity show tomorrow. So we're going to do a charity for No Child Hungry, which is the great nonprofit that gets kids food during the summer times when school lunches aren't available. Because for a lot of kids in America, remember, 1 in 5 kids are food insecure in America. For as much as these billionaires have, 20% of the children don't know where the next meal is coming from. So we're going to do a charity for No Child Hungry that gets kids this food when school's out of session, because usually during the school year, the free meals, even though they aren't the best meals at school, free lunch programs are sometimes the only hot meal kids receive that day. So the weekends they're starving, and then school days they get 1 hot meal a day. So we're gonna raise money for them because it is summertime and those kids they need food. So we're gonna get them food. So I'm gonna have to go back. I'm gonna have to delete a previous charity show so that we can do a new one for these guys. So our Charity Tuesdays got delayed until the first Tuesday of the month, and then we'll do another one the last Tuesday of the month. So we're gonna do that for them tomorrow. All right, everybody. See you tomorrow. Cool. All right. Bye bye. Gotta click on the who's and what's it. Shabam.